Welcome to the Dr. Diane Show, where we explore revolutionary expansion of mind, body, and soul with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. With over 20 years of expertise as a mindset warrior, perspective shifter, and unshakable optimist, I am dedicated to helping you reach your wildest dreams in business, health, performance, and relationships. Learn about the power of thought and how it shapes your life to take risks, change careers, find love, go on adventures, and live passionately with me, Dr. Diane. Get ready for revolutionary ways of thinking, being, and creating an amazing life. The Dr. Diane Show starts now. Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Diane Hayden, and you are listening to the Dr. Diane Show on Transformation Talk Radio. Stay with us for the next hour, where we will explore revolutionary expansion of mind, body, and soul. Join me on the first and third Thursdays of each month on the Dr. Diane Show, where I have experts from around the country teaching you cutting-edge therapies on longevity medicine, natural health, mindset, and soul purpose to help you shift your perspective and become a mindset warrior like me. And please like and subscribe to my channel, Dr. Diane Hayden. So I am excited to have with me today Becca Halbert. She is an LCSW and is the founder and owner of the Wave Effect Therapeutic Solutions, dedicated to providing compassionate, evidence-based mental health care for moms, children, and families. Becca specializes in working with mothers and women navigating perinatal mental health, as well as individuals experiencing trauma, depression, and anxiety. The Wave Effect represents an innovative and modern approach to therapy, offering practices that go beyond traditional talk therapy models. Since 2021, Becca has offered the LENS Neurofeedback, that's low energy neurofeedback system, as part of her therapeutic toolkit. This gentle, non-invasive brain-based intervention helps regulate the nervous system and supports deeper, lasting healing, particularly for those who haven't found relief through conventional therapy alone. And you can learn more about Becca at thewaveeffect.com. That's www.thewaveeffect.com. So welcome, Becca. How are you today?
Good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm good. Yeah, I'm really excited. This is a really cool topic. I have not ever met anyone doing what you're doing, so we're going to get into a lot of good stuff today. But I kind of like to just back up a little bit so my listeners can learn a little bit more about you. Like, what inspired you to become a therapist and do what you do in the first place, and then ultimately open the Wave Effect?
Yeah. So actually, first of all, I just want to say that what you do is amazing. I love that you have this mission to kind of bring more natural approaches to health and wellness. And that is just, I feel like, becoming more and more popular every day. And more people are looking for non-traditional approaches, and including myself. So I just think that it's amazing. Your mission is amazing, and I love that you're doing this.
Well, thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
We can only hope that more people will go for natural therapies. That's for sure.
Yeah. So what inspired me to do what I do? I actually am a third generation social worker. My mom was a social worker. My grandmother was a social worker. And so naturally I am a social worker.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of grew up with my parents really instilling in us this sense of helping others and giving back to the community. I remember when I was younger going to soup kitchens and clothing drives and toy drives and doing some event or give back to the community each month. And so I always knew I was going to be doing something in my career to help others. But what inspired me to really open up the Wave Effect was two things. So first, it was to offer innovative approaches and interventions to treating mental health issues. And it was also to fill a gap that I began to notice in mental health care for postpartum moms. Mm-hmm. So I have been in the mental health field for over 10 years. I've done therapy with individuals across the lifespan. And what I began to notice was that for not everybody, but for some people, we would kind of do all of this great work with talk therapy, and they would make all of this progress and kind of get the answers to like their behaviors, and like they're like, yes, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. But then we'd kind of get to the point of implementing the skills that we're talking about in therapy, and they would just not be able to do it.
Mm.
Or maybe they would do it and then they would fall back and do it and fall back. And honestly, for some people, I think it's pretty frustrating. So I always felt that there was something that, for some cases, not for all, and I don't want to give talk therapy a bad rap because I'm a big believer in talk therapy, but for some people, there needs to be a little push and a supplemental intervention to use in conjunction with talk therapy. So that is the first reason. And for the second reason, I noticed with a lot of my clients and with myself that, because I am a mother of two young kids, I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. So I noticed in my postpartum journey that there is not a lot of conversation, education, resources, access to resources for moms who are really struggling with either serious postpartum depression, psychosis, OCD, anxiety, or just the transition to motherhood.
Right.
And
Just basically go out and figure it out yourself.
exactly. Yeah. Like go find
Yeah.
what you need. And there's not a lot of conversation. And even from providers, when they're going to their 6-week checkups, there's not really that checking in. And with that, it's if they are reporting some of these symptoms, the first recommendation is medication.
Right.
And for some, that's, some people that's totally fine. And for some, they're not ready to take the jump. So towards medication. So I just feel like there's that gap in between, medication and other alternative interventions first. So for both of those reasons, I opened the Wave Effect, and we offer LENS Neurofeedback, which is low energy neurofeedback system, and EMDR, which are both evidence-based treatments that are really effective on their own, but I always recommend using them in conjunction with other therapies. So it's something I'm really passionate about. I feel like I have this like treasure
Right.
that is so effective and has been such an amazing experience for my clients, and not a lot of people know about it, and I want to share it with anybody who will listen.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it's I don't know if this is the right phrase or not, but it's almost like reprogramming your brain.
Mm-hmm.
That some people need, like you said, the talk therapy has a place and it's very effective, but the problems often happen when people are now on their own expected to maintain whatever changes they've made or implement them, like you said. And it's a lot of times it's subconscious things going on, I think, that you're not even aware of,
Yep.
that make you slip back into old habits. And so
Yep.
that I don't know, that there's only so much talk therapy can do. Now you have to go to a technique where it actually does kind of reprogram your brain.
Right. And LENS actually, it targets the root of the problem. It's targeting the central nervous system. It's targeting those maladaptive patterns that your brain has learned to function in. And so we're not just kind of doing the surface stuff, we're doing the deep work. So
Right.
really incredible.
Right. So your practice emphasizes creating what you call waves of change for clients.
Mm-hmm.
So explain a little bit about what that means.
Yeah, so the name of my practice, I put a lot of thought into. It came from, my inspiration was from a song from one of my favorite bands, Kings of Leon, and the song has a quote in it, "Ride out the wave," and that quote always spoke to me. I was always like, yes, like ride out the wave, because and this is a philosophy that I really use in my practice with my clients, that going through change can be really, really uncomfortable. And it can be, there's a lot of waves. And even if you get through one wave, there's going to be another one coming probably later. But about this idea of like being okay with being in the uncomfortable stages of change. And that's actually when you're learning and changing the most. So I specialize in working with moms who are in postpartum, and I really try and emphasize this with them, especially in motherhood. Motherhood is like the biggest roller coaster of all. But and just being uncomfortable with the uncomfortable, or being comfortable with the uncomfortable. And so I actually EMDR, which I'll kind of touch upon, but that is eye movement desensitization reprocessing. And it's a technique that we use to desensitize to distressing events. So basically, what you're doing is you are using what we call bilateral stimulation, which is movement either with your eyes back and forth or tapping on both sides of your body or hearing two sounds alternating in different ears. And it's helping your brain work together to kind of reprocess that memory and put it away, file it away correctly in your brain. And when I do use this technique with my clients, it can be like very, very uncomfortable for them. And I kind of warn them before. I say, listen, we're going to be doing this technique. It's going to not feel good. You're going to have all these emotions coming up, and I want you to lean into it. The more that you lean into it, the quicker it's going to go to getting to the other side. Right. And I even had an EMDR session earlier today, and she was like, afterwards, she was like, that was wild. Because it's really working through the emotion and being able to to work through the uncomfortable to get to the calmer state. And I think it empowers people. It empowers people to know that riding this wave is temporary. You don't have to stay here, and you're going to work through it to get to the other side.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. I mean, it's a great name for sure. And yeah, like we were just saying, it's so everyone's going to experience change, right? And like that's a given. And also, change doesn't last forever. I mean, the you're going to get through it, like you're saying. And so, I love the whole imagery of just riding that wave, and sticking with it, and using the tools that they're teaching them, and leaning into the emotion actually to get yourself through it faster. So this is all fascinating. We're going to get into a lot more with you for sure. You're listening to the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will explore more with Becca Halbert. She's the founder and owner of the Wave Effect Therapeutic Solutions. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. Before we continue, I want to make sure everyone knows how to contact me. You can find me at www.drdianehayden.com or at either of my two publications websites, www.naturalnutmeg.com and www.essentialnaples.com. And you can learn more about Becca Halbert at her website, which is www.thewaveffect.com. That's spelled THEWAVEEFFECT.com. So just before we went to break, we were just talking about the name and your philosophy about riding the wave and all of that, which I love. I think that's a great way for people to maybe look at change as something that is inevitable, but not so awful and so terrible, and they're going to find a way to ride that wave through it. That's really beautiful. But let's get into the LENS Neurofeedback, because when I introduced you, I was like, I've never met anyone who's doing this. I haven't heard. I mean, I'm generally aware of like what neurofeedback is, but I've not ever experienced LENS Neurofeedback. So for people who aren't familiar, what exactly is that, and how does it work?
Yeah, so you're not the only one. It's actually very common that not a lot of people have heard about LENS Neurofeedback. So in order to kind of explain what LENS Neurofeedback is, I want to just give a brief history of just neurofeedback and biofeedback in general. So biofeedback and traditional neurofeedback has been around since the 50s. And it started with biofeedback, which was using electrical signals to help a person gain awareness and control over their physiological processes. So their pulse, their blood pressure, their heart rate, their sweating. And then it shifted into neurofeedback, EEG based neurofeedback. So you might hear traditional neurofeedback referred to as EEG based neurofeedback or traditional neurofeedback. And this shifted the neurofeedback, biofeedback field into looking into the brain's processes. So instead of the physiological processes, we're looking at the patterns of energy in people's brains and how it relates to their functioning. So the way that I explain traditional neurofeedback is that they put these sensors on your head and they're reading your brain activity all at the same time. And they're identifying places in your brain where the brain waves are not optimal. And they want to get more desirable brain wave patterns in those spaces. And they use a reward-based system. So it is very much an operant conditioning approach. I don't know if listeners are aware of operant conditioning, but it's if you've heard of B.F. Skinner and his study with rats back in the fifth or the 30s, I believe, and he would have rats go through these mazes, and they would hit a lever, they would get a reward.
Okay. Yeah.
Then they learned, okay, I'm going to go through the maze, I'm going to hit this lever, I'm going to get a reward. So that is basically what the philosophy of traditional neurofeedback. A technician is working with you, and they're trying to get you to guide you to have your brain think in a certain way so that you can get the more desirable brain waves. It's very effective. I've heard of people who've done it, and they loved it, and it was great. So fast forward to the 90s, Dr. Len Oakes, who's a clinical psychologist, his mission and his, he wanted to create LENS Neurofeedback to reduce the number of sessions it took for people to feel better. So he was said, we're doing great with neurofeedback, but I think we can do better. Mm-hmm. So LENS Neurofeedback, it's the same as traditional because it's EEG based. So we're using electrical activity to monitor the brainwaves. But what actually happens is the system, when you connect it to the brain and you put the sensors on, what it does is it's reading the brain activity, and it's actually mirroring to the brain what your brain is doing. Okay. And ultimately, in doing this, your brain is able to see, like, oh, wow, this is what I'm doing. Okay, that's not optimal. That's not good. Fix yourself.
Right.
And your brain will reorganize itself and regulate itself on its own.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. So that's and I've tried like so hard to like find a really good way at explaining this, because people are like, I don't understand. Like, how does it work? So
because we're so caught up in having to feel like we need to do something.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we need to logically or physically do something. It can't be possible that the body can actually heal itself, on its own. Just give it the right tools.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very intuitive. It's going to know what to do.
Yeah, it's going to know what to do. And so it uses its own neuroplasticity. The brain is fixing itself. And so I actually brought my machine in here in my office to show you, so I could show everybody what it looks like, because people are like, I just don't get it. And what does it look like? So this is actually the neurofeedback machine. This is how small it is.
Wow.
It connects to a computer, and coming out of the machine are these sensors. So these are the sensors. We have 2 sensors that clip on your ears, and then 2 sensors that go on 2 sites. So we do 2 sites at a time. There's 21 sites over on the head, and we do 2 at a time. So we just put them on the sites that we want to target, and we run the machine. And this could take 4 to 30 seconds. I'll get into that later, but it's really it's a really effective intervention. And another way, if people are still having trouble like conceptualizing it, another way that I explained it to my friend actually recently, she was like, oh, that makes sense, is that if you're walking around with a piece of spinach in your teeth, you don't know that you have a piece of spinach in your teeth. Even
Yep.
if somebody tells you, you're like, oh, where is it? Where is it? Like, I can't get it. You need to look into the mirror to be able to identify where it is and then to get it out of your teeth.
Right.
So that's the kind of
You're
simple
giving the brain a
way.
mirror,
You're
basically, right?
giving the brain a mirror.
Right.
Yes. And so, but the difference between lens neurofeedback and traditional neurofeedback is that traditional is really trying to target certain parts of the brain. At least this is what, from my understanding, from what I've read and heard from people, and it's targeting certain parts of the brain. But lens, we target certain parts of the brain by putting the sensors on different areas, but you don't need to. You don't
Right,
need.
because to me, if your brain is the intuitive, being that's going to figure this out, you nor the therapist need to really decide what or where to do it because the brain's doing it on its own, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So like you could do it on your frontal lobe and it's going to, which is like executive functioning, it's going to heal everything.
Mhm.
I do it on people's bodies and it heals their mental health. And again, I'll get into that later, but it's really it's very holistic, much more holistic approach. And the other thing is, you know, philosophy that they have is that what we're doing is we're lifting suppression. So suppression is a big, word, like term that we use in with lens neurofeedback. And that concept is kind of like every time as we're going through life and we get either a hit on the head or we have a distressing experience or a trauma, every time that happens, our brain suppresses itself
Right.
to protect itself, right? We put up defense mechanisms and it's suppressing, like, okay, we don't like that, so we're gonna suppress ourselves. It's adaptive, right? Like we're wired to do that. We're wired to protect ourselves, survival mode. When it becomes maladaptive is when we're continuing to do that throughout our life and we don't address that hit on the head that we got earlier in life. And so when we're doing the lens neurofeedback, we're lifting the suppression. We're working on that either that experience that was really traumatic for us or that hit on the head that happened when you played sports when you were younger. And every time you do that, you're actually untraining your brain from those maladaptive patterns, those patterns that are not working for you anymore. They're actually getting in your way. So that's how I explain lens neurofeedback to people.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Like, I guess we would think that if you have either a physical effect to the brain, like you're saying, you got hit playing sports or whatever, or like it could be emotional trauma or whatever it might be, that we're going to protect ourselves. But I don't think many people think like, what is the long-term effect of that?
Right.
Which is what you're saying is basically now that type of trauma, whether it's actual physical trauma or emotional trauma, can lead someone down a path to, I don't know, have an addictive habit, let's just say, or, have, become, change their personality in a way that, they are unknowingly harming themselves or people they're in relationship with. I mean, it's pretty amazing when you think about it from that perspective. Like, wow, that thing, we think of it like, okay, the trauma happens and then we heal from it and then it's over, right? We don't think about these long-term ramifications.
No, and especially when it's over and over, that's when you see it really like their people's brains are in what we call neuro gridlock. They are so stuck in their ways. They are so stuck in those patterns. And it's, we think, oh no, it's good that I'm not thinking about that. And I don't let myself go down that route of like thinking about that memory.
Yeah.
It's good in the moment, like, right, and it makes sense, we're trying to survive, but it's not great if you are doing it year after year after year after year, you're not facing the issue.
Mhm.
And again, like we said before, get moving towards change and getting in healing and getting better is facing the issues and working through it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's amazing. It seems, I mean, it sounds like such a a wild thing to do. It's like, wow, I mean, and so simple. Like, it's pretty non-invasive, and like literally I'm imagining you just sit there and you have the
It's
things on your head, and it could
it's
almost be meditative and relaxing. And
it really is. People are like, wait, it takes like 4 seconds. I'm like, yeah, it's 4 seconds and then you're done. I mean, it depends on the client and where they're at in treatment, but yeah, it's quick and it's effective.
and how many times typically would you see someone? Like how many times would they come for something like this?
So it really depends on what they're coming in for. So I have clients that I mean, I've worked on a wide range of conditions. I've worked on people who've had concussions, people who have seizure disorders, people who are in psychosis, people who have suicidal ideation, people who have severe OCD. And it really kind of depends on the complexity of the case,
Mhm.
of the individual. And for example, I had someone come in who got a concussion, and I think it was 6 weeks after he got a concussion. By the way, the quicker you come in, the better, because you don't want your brain sitting in that kind of suppressed state. Um,
Exactly.
so he came in and did one session, and he texted me the next day and he was like, my wife told me that I'm myself again.
Wow.
And then my client told me that I have the color back in my face. So
Awesome.
I did maybe a handful of sessions, 5 or 6 on him, and pretty much the concussion symptoms were relieved. But that's one case, and then there's other cases that where it's going to be more long term.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Well, that
it
makes sense. I mean, when I asked that question, and obviously, like with anything with natural medicine, or things like this, it's obviously going to be very individualized and dependent on what the case is, how long they've had the situation, all
right.
of those kinds of things. So this is awesome. We're going to learn more. I'm excited to find out more about this amazing new technique that you have. You're listening to the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking more with Becca Halbert. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Hayden. I'm talking today with Rebecca Halbert. She is the founder of The Wave Effect, and you can learn more about her at her website, www.thewaveffect.com. That's spelled THEWAVEEFFECT.com. So, um, one of the things I wanted to ask you, Becca, was we kind of were talking about, like how many sessions does it take? And obviously it's very individualized, but what kinds of conditions or, health issues or things like that have you found respond particularly well to LENS neurofeedback?
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, I have almost 5 years of experience doing lens, and I've worked on a wide range of conditions, and with individuals all across the lifespan. And to be honest, there have been very few individuals that I've worked with that where lens has not really worked for them. There will be those people that maybe won't respond.
Right.
However, I do believe it's all about technique. So I do believe that if someone's not responding, there's something that you're not doing right as the practitioner. But I think the most remarkable um, results that I've gotten are people with concussions, like I mentioned earlier. And then I have a lot of people that come and those more complex individuals where they've tried everything and nothing has worked.
Mm.
Nothing has worked. Medication, multiple different kinds of medication. Some people, ECT, which is electric
Yeah.
convulsive therapy, and nothing has worked. They're out of options, and I do LENS neurofeedback with them, and it completely changes their life. So, and just some of the people that come to my mind are or the cases and conditions that come to my mind are suicidal ideation. Had great success with people who are experiencing suicidal ideation and really being able to alleviate the thoughts and their ability to change the thoughts, or the thoughts not even being there anymore.
Right.
Psychosis, postpartum psychosis. I have worked with women who were experiencing postpartum psychosis, visual hallucinations, and doing neurofeedback with them, and the visual hallucinations are almost non-existent. Just really alleviating the symptoms, and the paranoia also went down. Very, very good for people who have OCD, who are neurodivergent. So ADHD, autism spectrum, OCD, and so OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, autism spectrum, and then ADHD, attention deficit hyperactive disorder. Really, really effective treatment for those individuals, because for those individuals, their brains are wired differently. So the neuro gridlock is not necessarily from an experience, although you go through that as well. It's how their brain was wired, and so using the neurofeedback is really effective in getting that and rewiring those brain patterns. But I honestly really believe that LENS can help most people.
I was going to say, it honestly sounds like it could, like anyone could use this therapy for sure. Like,
Yeah, and get amazing results, or at least
right,
some relief. And I always try and tell people, it's not that it's going to take it away, right? It's not that it's going to take the symptom away. It's just that you're like, it's still going to be there. You're still going to have times where you're experiencing those symptoms, but it's going to make it easier for you to work through them, to kind of use your skills to be able to work through that symptom and not feel like it's taking over you.
right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's the big thing, I think, is um, it's desensitizing it almost, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, people will say, "Oh, you know what? Like, usually that really bothers me. It didn't really bother me as
yeah.
much. Or if it did, you know what? Usually I can get bothered by it like for a half hour to an hour, and I was actually only bothered by it for about 5 minutes, and then I moved on."
Which is
So,
amazing. I mean, that's,
yeah.
that's the whole battle, right? It's like being
Yep.
able to move beyond whatever that trigger is, and
Yeah.
not continue to focus on it, and you know ruin your whole life and relationships and everything else, because
Yeah.
you're in that spiral and constant circuitous pattern of like
Yeah.
trigger, think about it, trigger, think about it.
Yeah.
So how do you combine this with other, like, what other things do you do in your practice that you find you combine it with, or that work complementary together?
So the way that I combine it in my practice is I use LENS and EMDR together. It can be, and it works great for clients that I'm doing EMDR with who may be who may be stuck. And that tends to happen because with people, a lot of EMDR is you can do it with people, or it's been advertised to do it with people who have trauma, and it's really effective with people who have trauma and complex trauma. I mean, I do it with, almost all of my clients because I think can be effective. But and people with trauma, they tend to be disconnected from themselves, from their thoughts, from their emotions, and they can dissociate, which is detaching themselves from the memories and the emotions of their body. And when I have a client like this, it can be challenging to do EMDR, because EMDR is really bringing you into your body. It's bringing out those emotions, and when people have those defenses up,
Yeah.
you're not getting through, and it
Right.
takes work. So LENS helps with, again, taking down those defenses and being able to getting the body ready to be able to regulate, to be able to face those memories and be able to regulate yourself and not have it be as activating as it maybe could have been. So I use it in that with EMDR in that way, and I also use it with EMDR for some clients who have a lot of physical symptoms that come up. So I have physical symptoms. I'm really bringing people into their bodies, and a lot of physical stuff is coming up. And at the end, when we're done, usually the EMDR can kind of take care of that and alleviate, the symptoms will be alleviated. But sometimes there's some leftover like discomfort. Like I had a client who went through a sexual abuse, and when we were doing EMDR, the right side of her arm would hurt, and I figured out that was the side that she was pulled on when she was going through that experience. And afterwards, I would do LENS on her arm, and it would just help kind of regulate the central nervous system in that arm, and it would help with the pain. But that's really kind of the way that I use LENS in my practice with EMDR. You can also, some practitioners actually do EMDR while they're doing LENS, which I have yet to do, but I really want to do it because, the bilateral stimulation, which is like the movement from both sides of the body, is exactly what LENS is doing. It's moving from this to this. So that's I'm definitely going to be trying that in the future. But that's another way that I use it. And I use it. I have a lot of clients. Most of my clients are people who already have a therapist or are already using other modalities, and they're coming to me to just kind of to help boost those other and enhance those other experiences. So I have a client that has chronic IBS, and I was using, and he's in therapy, and he has other, is on medication for it. And we found out through my assessment, it's very, very strongly linked to his anxiety, his trauma from his childhood. And so what I actually did was, instead of doing the LENS neurofeedback on his head, I did it on his stomach, in the area where he felt the density, where all of his like pain and discomfort was when his IBS was flaring up. And I worked with him for a couple months and got him to a point where his IBS symptoms were pretty much relieved and decreased significantly. And as you know, the gut inflammation in the gut can impact the brain, our emotion. And so targeting, actually sometimes with people with LENS neurofeedback, targeting the body can actually be more effective than targeting the head.
Wow, that's really amazing. I mean, it always amazes me that, you know, that emotional things cause physical symptoms. I mean, I completely get it. I understand
Yeah,
it. But at the end of the day, it's like, how does that even happen? I mean, it's
I
like,
know.
it's pretty wild. And then the fact that you can actually take this device and actually use it on all different areas of the body, because
Hmm.
it's basically, retraining the nervous system and
Right.
everything. That's just amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, like, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it really could use it for pretty much anything, for sure.
Anything. I have
Yeah,
sometimes I have clients and they're like, "Oh, I pulled my back last night," and I'm like, "Let me just do the neurofeedback on your
I
back,
know.
on their back," and they're like, "Oh my God, how did you do
It,
that?"
exactly. You don't even need a massage therapist anymore.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this has been awesome. So you're listening to the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking more with Becca Halbert. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. You can learn more about me at www.drdianehayden.com. And I'm talking today with Becca Halbert at her website, which is www.thewaveffect.com. That's spelled THEWAVEEFFECT.com. And right before we left, we were just talking about, how amazing it is that the body is just so fascinating to me, that, like, you can have trauma and it can show up as a physical symptom, and you don't necessarily have had to have any physical injury to that area of the body, or wherever it's showing up, basically. And just things like anxiety causing physical symptoms. I mean, I had issues with that myself, with over the last couple of years, of just having tachycardia and
Mhm.
like PVCs and arrhythmia. I went to all kinds of doctors, nothing wrong with you,
Mhm.
all
Yeah.
kinds of testing. It's, whatever. It was stress. I mean, literally, it was just, I finally, went and did some, I did like coaching, stress reduction coaching, and worked with this particular individual who had experience with that. And honestly, like, within a couple months, it was gone completely.
Yep.
And so I'm like, well, it's happened to me. Like,
Yep.
honestly, as healthy as I am, and all the things that I do and I know and whatever, and I practice, stress can still get to you. And at some point, it's going to cause a physical symptom. It's basically your body, like, hello, we need to
Hello, like,
address this.
yeah, like wake up. No, don't,
Yes,
you gotta slow down.
exactly.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you is, so we were just talking about, like, how it works. So you have like these sensors that you put on the head, or actually anywhere on the body. Do you
Mhm.
find that some people are hesitant about that, or nervous about it? And if so, like, how do you address that?
Yeah, definitely. That comes up a lot. And to be honest, I'm super respectful about it. Lens is not for everybody. It's it can be scary, and people are not really sure what it is, and maybe not open to it, and maybe not open to it yet. But I am totally respectful about it. And if somebody calls me and they're like looking for therapy, and I'm kind of assessing and I'm hearing what's going on, and I'm seeing what would be, who would be a good therapist for them, what they need, and then I'm also assessing, like, are they open to lens? Um, and if I'm like reading that maybe not or not yet, I may mention it or may not. But I don't recommend it to everyone. I I think that part of I have been able to do it on people who haven't been open to it and have gotten great results, but you also kind of need to be open to it. But I try, if people have questions about it, they're like, what is this? Like, how does it work? And a lot of people are like, is it ECT, the electroconvulsive therapy? Is it electric shock therapy? And I'm like,
I know I'm
no.
going to get shocked.
Yeah, yeah. I get that question so many times. And I'm like, no, I can understand why you would be worried, because like putting sensors on your head.
Yeah, sure.
But no, it is not. Like, it is the opposite. It is extremely gentle, non-invasive. The signals are weaker than the signals that come out of your phone. So it is very, very gentle. But I think that that's what makes me so good at what I do, because I really try and meet people where they're at, and I'm really trying to assess their openness. And if I don't feel like they're open to it or that they could benefit, then I might recommend something else. And I always do recommend like therapy first. I do, because for some people it's really very effective, and even just that therapeutic relationship or just talking about things can be it can be life changing for them. And they may not be ready yet, but maybe in the future. And so I just always keep that conversation and station going and keep it up. I have two clinicians that work for me, so I'll pass them off, and then I'll say, feel free to contact me
Right.
whenever you need, if you have any questions. So
And obviously, people have to come in person to your practice in
yeah,
Connecticut if they want to do lens. But do you practice virtually outside of that for anything, any
yes.
of the other therapies you do? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I do therapy and EMDR virtually. I do that virtually. So yeah.
And it's not, what's also awesome is it sounds like, like you said, someone who has another therapist that they're already working with, they can, come to you just for lens, and
Yep.
you kind of, you will cross refer or, work in conjunction with someone's already existing therapist so they don't have to
Yes.
switch or anything like that.
I
Yeah.
do I
Yeah.
do that a lot with the therapists in the area. I have connections with therapists in the area, and they'll be like, "Hey, one of my clients I feel like can benefit from lens. I'm gonna have them go to you, and I'll do lens on them while they're doing therapy with their therapist. And then when they're done, they go back to their therapist, and then
Right.
if they need to come back for lens, they will. And if somebody doesn't have a therapist, I can connect them with a therapist that I feel like would be a good fit for them. So it works really great. I love working with other providers, because it helps them too. It helps
Yeah.
them with their
Of
therapeutic
course.
process with their clients.
Right.
So yeah.
We've talked about a lot of like a lot of client success stories, different things that people have come to you for that you've worked with this modality. But you have a testimonial that I think would be really impactful for us to hear. So do you want to go ahead and read that?
Yeah, so just a little background. I do get uh, permission to read this and with no identifying information, but a client that I have been working with came in and having some pretty significant symptoms after having COVID, long COVID symptoms, a lot of shakiness inside, really like depression, not being able to leave the house, not like very fearful and weepy, and was able to get her to a place where she is going out and doing things and not having the shakiness inside like dissipated and went away. And she's able to go and look forward to things and not have like that kind of looming depression. So really incredible work with this client. And so she wrote a testimonial that I'd love to read. I was referred to LENS after 2 years of being trapped in a cycle of anxiety and sadness that psychotherapy and medication couldn't break. LENS gave me a quiet, steady change. Little by little, I began to feel myself again. The mental balance, calmness, and clarity returned. My brain just seemed to reset in small, meaningful ways. Over time, I experienced fewer anxiety spikes, feelings of sadness, and more mental clarity. I've stopped taking one of my medications and reduced the dosage of another with the goal of stopping all such medication. It has given me hope when I began to lose it. I very much recommend it. LENS is scientific or science-backed way to support one's brain health without the side effects of medication.
Oh, I just love the last sentence, the best part.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 And
That's really awesome.
for for clients that do have that goal of getting off of medications, I have a lot that come to me for that. And I'm not a psychiatrist and I don't pretend to know the ins and outs of medications. And I tell them, that if that's your goal, I will support you to get there. I will need to be working very, very closely with your psychiatrist and other kind of if you're seeing a therapist, a psychiatrist, if it's a child, collaborating with their school. But what comes along with doing LENS for my clients is not just the lens, but I am bringing everybody into the picture, and we are working on this to get where the client wants to be.
Wow, I love it. I love it. It sounds like it's got an amazing future too. Like I could see, there's so many, drugs that are just so awful that are out there. It's just, like for the things that they're supposed to fix, it sounds like they make more problems with,
Yeah.
half the time. And so something like this, which is non-invasive and, it's just a great, great modality. I'm sure people will definitely be looking into this and getting in touch with you for sure. So thank you for all the amazing information.
Of course. Thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
Yes, of course. Of course. It's been my pleasure and great to learn about everything and all of this. And again, people can find you at www.thewaveeffect.com. So thank you again, Becca.
Thank you so much, Diane. It was great.
Awesome. And I want to thank all of you for tuning into the show. Please join me the first and third Thursdays at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, where I have experts from around the country teaching you cutting edge therapies on longevity medicine, natural health, mindset, and soul purpose. Please like and subscribe to my channel, Dr. Diane Hayden, and I will see you back here next time. Thank you for tuning into the Dr. Diane Show, revolutionary expansion of mind, body, and soul with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. Tune in every Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern on transformationtalkradio.com. Center your thoughts on what you want and shut the door on every suggestion of fear, worry, or lack from your own consciousness or the consciousness around you. Once you master that, everything is possible. To learn more about me, Dr. Diane, and receive a free digital subscription of my magazine, visit naturalnutmeg.com.